Okay, do it again. Can you do it again? Call
I'm sorry.
to order.
Start again? All right,
Yeah.
okay. I'm going to call to order a regular meeting of the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And a roll call.
Chairperson Bob McCool.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Lisa Ritchie.
Here.
Commissioner Sola Sarden here. David Harper. Here. Jerry Malia. Ben Miller.
Here.
Jason Reese.
Here.
Anthony Stewart.
Here.
Steve Whitty.
Here.
Planner Stephen Williams.
Here.
Attorney Dan Harvey. Okay.
All right, so probably now the appropriate time to add this agenda item. Yeah, so we do need to add an agenda item to make a formal recommendation on the Northwest Area Plan to the board. Can I get a motion to make that happen?
Move to amend the agenda to add that agenda item.
Okay. Motion, Commissioner Ritchie, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Reese? All in favor? All right. I'm going to suggest we probably put that prior to the work plan, maybe new item 4.5.
Sure.
All right. Is that okay? Cool. We don't have public here for consent agenda and non-agenda items, so we can move on to discussion about chairperson and vice chairperson and election. So it's time to do that again. So, well, put it out there for discussion or nominations or requests to do it.
Seems like we just did this yesterday.
I know.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it wasn't just.
I believe it's been a year.
Yeah, has it been a year? No, has it been a year?
Well, I mean, we do it. I don't know.
Oh, no.
June.
Right? Isn't that when you guys?
Is that when we did it last? Oh, yeah, maybe because Jim.
Right,
that's
because
when
Jim
Jim
left.
left.
So it has only been 6 months.
That hasn't
Yeah.
been that long.
Yeah.
Okay. Phew. Time's not passing that quickly.
Yeah, so I'm happy to continue. I'm also happy if somebody else would like to is interested. I'm flexible. My interest is in us working together to get all this done, so.
I'm happy to nominate Chairman McCool to continue. I think he's done a good job facilitating.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
Does that make it a motion? Do we vote on that, or is that? how does
Yeah.
that- Okay.
Go ahead, since you made the motion.
Anybody else have any interest or want to throw their name in? All right, so all in favor? All right, so that's done. All right, so we have a vice chair, and I actually didn't check with you if you were interested in retaining that and continuing to do this. So.
I'm happy to continue. I also recognize I do miss meetings every now and then, and if somebody else wants to take a turn, happy to entertain that as well. Either way, fine, either way.
Any thoughts on that?
I'm happy to nominate Ms. Ritchie.
Okay. I'll second, or go ahead, Anthony. You take it?
I'll second that.
All right. Second. All right, all in favor?
Right.
Thank you. Awesome.
No, thank you both.
I haven't had to actually be chair yet. You've never missed.
I know, I haven't missed it.
It's really easy.
No.
I can start doing that. I can have a break. That's right. Exactly. I missed 2 events tonight, so. That's okay.
We're having an HOA meeting, so this was a good excuse.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, so we have the minutes from the December 18th. There are a couple, I just saw a couple typos where downtown was missing it was down T-O-N, but
Okay.
I think that's all I saw.
Okay.
You could search for that and
Okay.
find it.
Okay.
Other than that, it looked.
I will do a word search on it.
Yeah, there was one
Make sure.
other, it wasn't that, it wasn't,
Okay. I
didn't make
will
it
check
under,
it again.
you can still understand it. So. Anybody else have anything about the minutes? Can I entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from the December 18th meeting?
You weren't here.
Yeah,
Oh, you weren't here. All right.
And Lisa wasn't here,
No,
so
wasn't here.
Who was all here?
Lisa,
And
Jason, and Ben were not here.
we're not here. Okay. You want to take this in?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 18 Planning Commission
All right.
with the corrections made by Phyllis as noted.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay.
And, okay, great. All in favor that we're here? Any abstentions? Yeah.
3 abstain.
3 abstain, yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, so then agenda item 4.5 here is just discussion around the a formal recommendation to the board on this area plan that we saw tonight, and putting that together, I think figuring out what we think what we want the board to do with this and what actions they want to give us as next steps.
So I think it's kind of two parts. I think it's more that you recommend that they actually, or that you're endorsing the summary of recommendations. And if you guys still have comments and stuff to go through it, I don't think that that's, out of the question. We can still, like Darcy said, you can still give them comments, or if there's, points of clarification that need to be made more. But I think this document and, the one thing, this is a fairly extensive document. I would have liked to have more time to go through it in relation to some of the previous documents and, our original goals and objectives that we set out to do. I think we're all on the same track, that we set out to be. But I think tying some things together, like that was like a lot of my comments to them was just, a little bit more connection at the end. Like, and one of the things too is that, this started out as the Northwest Area Plan as a whole, and it kind of bifurcated, and we're still achieving some of those objectives about connectivity between original town and the marketplace and pedestrian connections and that underpass that's been designed that I assume they'll touch on in that presentation. But that's a big thing too, is that we're not ignoring that. We're recommending that, but that's part of and it's in two different locations, but it's in both of their recommendations. An underpass is either located with that roundabout construction, or it's further north, should it be the other option. So, but I think that one of your, and it's I don't want to, direct you in any way, but, everyone seems very excited about this plan. And I think, we're talking about the 2018 work plan. And one of the things we could do is just sit with this and look at it in more detail, tease it out and figure out what, like whether or not it's, one of the things that I guess I was happy with and hadn't really seen too much of was the branding discussion. Mm-hmm. Looking at the marketplace and figuring out like, well, maybe it is not the most currently branded destination, and maybe if we think about it in 3 different pieces or just 2 different pieces, then even that's like a low-hanging fruit that but it's probably going to cost some money, to have that rebranded or whatever. But we have opportunities, and some of those opportunities are those detention areas, which are town-owned, and that's someplace that we can put signs, But, and that's one of those things that with or without the, I don't think that any owner is going to say, no, we don't want you to do this work for us. But hopefully they, would be a partner too. So I don't know that there's any impediment to us doing something in an area as critical as this is to our town. So, I know that went on longer than I meant to, but the purpose is just that I think your recommendation is really just, or what you're making a recommendation on is whether or not you're endorsing their summary recommendations. And then I think there's an opportunity to kind of clarify what you want to do, later in terms of your work plan, but there's going to be a lot of crossover. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. I feel like I'm glad that this isn't kind of our last chance to potentially say, thumbs up or comments. And I also want to encourage you to keep reviewing, keep providing comments. And I also think it might, tweak a little bit based on the town board. So I don't know if, I guess it kind of goes back to my original question. Are we going to be like formally adopting this as a plan? Is it going to come back to us kind of for a final approval?
If you guys, well, there's like, it is again what you guys want to get out of this. Do you, if you want specificity, if you want to say that and I think that, for the original town area, maybe one of your recommendations is we're adopting this, and we're also wanting to carry that momentum forward and ensure that we have, some direction on an overlay district or whatever the tool is that you guys feel is appropriate for original town.
I like the idea of adopting it formally, and having the board potentially adopt it formally as well, just to establish this firmly as policy, right? Not just, that we went through this exercise, but it's on the books, with a more formal action. I know at the end of the day, it's all the same, but I think it's good to go on record, both as a planning commission and the town board, you know, that we adopted this as policy, whether it's, you know, just the Northwest Superior Sub-Area Plan, or it was an amendment to the comprehensive plan, or kind of, I don't remember where we landed on where this fits. I don't know, I'd like to take formal action, I think, and I think that probably doesn't have to be, you know, much. I think we do the work session with board, get the final, you know, kind of their final thoughts on it, and then maybe it's just, you know, comes back at a final, you know, at another meeting where it's a, you know, a formal adoption. It's just my thought on it.
Bob, you look pensive. What were your thoughts on this? Or what were you thinking it would be?
I don't, that all does sound fine. I'm just, you know, to Anthony's point, we don't want this to die, right? This is, you know, and.
No.
Which I know, I mean, I know
Right.
that, but I want to be careful it doesn't get left hanging after this. Okay, yep, or.
We don't want a
it's
document
endorsed.
sitting on the shelf.
Okay,
Yeah.
now what? What are we
I
doing?
think that's my way of making sure that,
Right.
like, it actually is done and affirmed. Cause like, to me, if we just do a work session with board and we get this general, like, oh yeah, this looks good. without
No,
them
yeah,
taking action on it,
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah. But there's no, I guess there aren't action items in here yet, and I don't know whether we define those in a work plan, then we have to come back and get those approved, or, you know, if we can at some point define those, what the action items are, and the priority that we want to address those, and get the
I think
board to
that's an
bless that,
opportunity. I mean, you
and-
can, like I said, I said we could tease it out through our work plan this year, but if you're looking for something more concrete and, you know, your recommendation, then I think that we could certainly prepare a memo that goes along with this, that outlines, you know, a general summary of where we landed and what our recommendations are and what steps that we're hoping that the board takes.
Yeah.
And that
I
might
think
be-
the plan includes action items for things to do, you know, create an overlay district, you know, the
Without a
recommendations.
calendar or without timing, I think, and
Yeah.
then maybe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, okay.
the
Or
biggest.
priorities, yeah, I
Right.
mean, it's like, okay, go.
Do all of these things at once. Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing I struggle with, just recommending that the board adopt this, is that there's also almost just a bunch of scenarios in here and some kind of suggestions for next steps. And it's not like area plans I'm used to seeing where it's a pretty firmed up document that a council adopts. And it's like, well, clearly this is what we're doing from now on.
Right.
This one's more like there's a lot of kind of gray area still left. So it's a little weird to me that this, you know, it almost feels like that's when it gets set on the shelf, is they adopt it and we didn't actually implement the next steps yet. So I'm not opposed to it, but it doesn't feel as polished as I would have thought it would be for a board to be adopting.
My comment would be that I can
Microphone.
I can see a fairly clear path forward on the original town issues. If you asked me to write down a series of next steps, I couldn't think of the next steps.
Yeah.
I'm not nearly so clear on what the action items on the marketplace would be. That's it, but that still seems to me to be at a rather higher level. So I don't see quite.
But maybe that's maybe you just defined what we need to do. We can do the original town because it's clear, and our action item is to come back at some point with a better definition after we get their feedback at the meeting as to how we proceed in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, there are action items that could start happening. I mean, we could request that staff to be directed to, I know you're already doing it, but you know, that it's a clear direction to engage Brixmor and engage RTD and engage CDOT to address the three key pieces here, right? Brixmor, do you want to partner on this and make this happen? CDOT, do you want to partner on this? Or not CDOT, RTD, and you know, I think CDOT's open to some of the infrastructure changes, and they're not gonna get that done in a week. I mean, that's probably months of communication.
Yeah, but I mean, the plan includes that specificity, you know,
Yeah.
it does say action 1, modified development agreement and zoning to allow for this, action 2, partner with RTD, so.
But we don't know if they will. I mean, right, there's like preliminary work to find out whether it's a partnership agreement or whether it's a town activity agreement. Those were the two scenarios we have. If we have absolute agreement from everybody, then we know we can go down the partnership path. And
Well, the number one action is the same in both scenarios.
page is that on?
I'm looking at pages 35 and 34. I agree they're not identical. And then some of this just, gets added to work plans, each year, that, aren't necessarily adopted in a plan.
Well, even, up until now, I'm veering towards the blue Marshall and sort of second option. In fact, in looking at this, I find myself coming back towards the first option as well, so I'm not really clear in my own mind which I think is the best one. It's partly caused by comments like Steve's, if PetSmart and OfficeMax weren't there, then you could do a lot with that corner, but not if you rerouted Marshall Drive through it, things like that. So I mean, in my mind, I'm not, I haven't really decided which of the two I would like to recommend if I was asked for a recommendation.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a critical juncture that when we need to decide. I mean, I think that, and that's what's tricky, is I think that the situation there is so fluid, we don't have a commitment from brick and mortar. We might in 3 months, we might in 3 years. We don't know when they're gonna give us any feedback. So, but I think that there are a handful of things that we can do independently and that we probably want to get started on. And that may get the ball rolling, and then, I think that that's the good and the bad with this plan. I totally agree and understand Commissioner Miller's point that you'd think it would be more baked, but I also think that it was an honest assessment of the current situation out there. Like that we can't, if we went all in on one thing, that may not be the best or the smartest solution either, where let's go put a roundabout in and move Marshall Road. That may be a little premature. But we think we can certainly focus on the RTD area. And I think that that's kind of, if you guys want to spend that kind of time on fleshing out the recommendations for this, we certainly can. But I also think that we could try to achieve that through a memo that accompanies this, that goes to the board that says, we have a pretty clear path forward for Original Town, and these are our recommendations, and we feel like there's some urgency here, and we'd like to get this, accomplished in 2019 or the first quarter or the first half or whatever your time frame is. And then for the marketplace, it's going to be a little bit more touch and go. But these are the things that we feel like are the priorities. And I think that there's an opportunity too with the branding to work with CAPS and see what, that could be an art project just as much as it is, signage, so. But those are all things that, that's totally up to you guys as far as what you want to work on and what you feel like the first steps should be for that part of the project. I think we are pretty clear on Original Town, which is great.
Well, let's finalize Original Town. I mean, let's make sure we're all clear. Is everybody okay with
The plan and original, with the
Yeah,
plan
if we
or
look
with
at
the
page
work plan?
40, the recommendations on page labeled 42, PDF page 45, where, it sounds to me like this is purely us working on an overlay district and everything can be accommodated in this overlay district. Is that accurate? Is that the recommendation then?
Do we have budget to continue on with Clarion to develop
Right.
the actual code amendments, or is that something?
We did ask for that. I thought
Staff?
There's
there
still
was.
some budget. I don't know how much, it's a monthly invoice I get.
You're not sure where we're at?
I
got
see
the
it relative to
impression.
the total that was approved, and
Yeah,
we're not there yet, but it's getting closer. So.
And it was discussed at the budget time to have money in the budget. I know Kevin Ryan was trustee.
Right, I think it
talked
might be
about
another,
Like,
yeah.
I thought it was another 50 or 100 grand, maybe even in there. For,
another pool.
I can't remember the
Yeah.
number, but I thought there was a number in there for continuing to work on this.
Did you just say 1,000, 50?
No, 50 to 100,000.
Get to this point, not have one.
Yeah, five
That's
grand
what I
or
want to make
so.
sure we can actually keep going.
So for me, I'm comfortable with moving ahead, and making this recommendation to the board. And like Commissioner Ritchie said, I think that we need to move this off of our plate onto, our board's, plate. Because realistically, I'm not sure how much further we're able to go on this. And, without, you know, having it formalized and having, some, backing from our town and the board. Really, I think we're probably as far as we can go. I do feel like there are some things that need to be tweaked a little bit in regards specifically to the redevelopment of the marketplace. But again, I think those are things that we can do as we move forward with this. And pieces of it are gonna come in, and pieces of it are gonna take longer. So I really, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I want the pendulum to continue to swing in the direction that we want it to, and not let this stall. So I do think it needs to be formalized, and I think it needs to be a recommendation or put into the work plan. Yes.
Well, then I'd suggest we request that for the original town side, that they endorse or approve the recommendation from Clarion and direct the planning commission to begin the development of the overlay district.
Yes.
And just make it that short and sweet, you know, as it is in the document. Everybody okay with that? All right. We need to motion this, or do we just put this into do we just give you some verbiage and?
I think you put it to vote, and then we have it on record, it's in the
Okay.
minutes, so. Yeah.
All right. I haven't ever made a motion, but I can do that as chair, right? Do you want me to do that? So I'll make a motion that we make a recommendation to the town board to approve the recommendation for the original town portion of the plan from Clarion, and direct the planning commission to begin development of the overlay district.
Seconded.
Do a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, so that's one down. Cool. Okay, now, and I know the marketplace might be a little bit more, but I want to get that one out of the way because I thought it was easy, so.
I was just realizing my hang up with the marketplace is it says potential paths forward. And I think that's like, we're advertising the board. Well, you
Yeah.
just struck potential, and I'm like, oh, path forward. Oh, here's common action for both paths. We'll just do the first three first.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, now I get it. So.
I think that's fair comment though, right? The
That
word
is.
potential just makes it, and I think maybe it's meant to be like unprioritized items, you know, rather than, yeah, and maybe it's recommended path forward, not potential path forward. Yeah.
And maybe we don't know the path forward yet until we have some conversations.
I was gonna say, it's a bit of a circle really, because do you really wanna go and start talking to Brixmor and the property owners until you have some idea what you really want to do?
Well, I think we do, my opinion is we do have a good idea of some good options. And I think either option, in order to be successful, you need to have buy-in
Yes.
from Brixmor and from CDOT and from RTD, right? So I like the flexibility of the two options. I think anytime you go through a planning effort like this, the outcome is never exactly what you see in these initial documents. I mean, look at how Town Center's evolved, and, you know, even the marketplace kind of changed in tweaks, Rock Creek all did. So I'm comfortable with where we've landed for now, and I think the recommended paths forward will help really flesh those out. And I don't think we're gonna get, my opinion on this is we're not gonna get this to a point where we have, you know, construction level plans and everybody has a really clear understanding of what this is gonna look like. I feel like this is a good point to say, now we need to go do all these other things, talk to all these people, and then we'll come back and it'll, you know, be FDP time or a little further planning study time. But my opinion is I'm comfortable with where we're at. And I'd also be comfortable recommending approval of the plan as drafted, you know, provided Stephen still keeps reading it closely and us too over the next, you know, few weeks. But that's my own personal opinion, but if other people have concerns or feel like it's not quite ready, those are.
So what if it sounded something like, we'd recommend to the town board to endorse a summary of recommendations, focus area 1, Superior Marketplace, direct staff to, and then boom, 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 which is, continue, discussions or actually.
Yeah, you could list our
you-
recommendations.
Yeah, have discussions with all parties involved, which is, you know, Brixmor, RTD, CDOT, Marketplace tenants as approved by Brixmor to discuss, right? Costco and Target are their own,
Property
they're their own
owners,
entities, right?
Does the board actually adopt a work plan too? Or is it just does the board have set things they want to achieve in any given year? Can we
Yeah.
recommend they add like these, some of these? Can't remember.
You could certainly talk to them. I think that they had their first retreat and kind of did their
Oh, yeah.
discussion on what their objectives are. So you want to keep this on their radar, you know,
Yeah.
as much as possible, so.
Well, then, so the other side of this then, once we come up with that list, is direct planning commission to, continue work on this through our work plan with the, this is a little more vague, sorry, but the goal of, based on findings from staff, come back to the town board and finalize a recommendation for Plan 1 or Plan 2, or a transition from Plan 1 to Plan 2, or whatever the heck it is we come back with.
First steps even, yeah, I mean, like, just the initial steps is all we really, I mean, we just need to get started. I
Yeah,
think,
just,
you know, like, and-
let them go and let the staff will work with the planning commission, then we'll come back to the board with a final recommendation on the plan, whether that, and that could be 1, 2, or a transition from 1 to 2 or something. you
But I
know.
think what you guys I think you guys are realizing it, but you guys are the ones that have pointed it out. So I just think that what you guys have recognized is that we have, you know, concrete direction on one of our two-legged recommendation, and we don't so much on the other one. But I think that if we tee that up to begin with the board, so that that's the expectation and that's the understanding, then, I mean, we could get lost in this conversation about where we go with the marketplace without kind of just laying that out there for them.
Is
So-
endorse a strong enough word for this portion of the plan, or do you want, I mean, yeah, does that feel like a strong enough word for? Well, this whole, focus area 1, Superior Marketplace,
I would.
can't really approve it because it's not, that felt too strong, but.
I would be comfortable approving it. I mean, I'd like to wait until after the board kind of takes a look at where we've landed. Make sure before we approve it, because if they start going in another direction, I don't want them to think we're done with it. You know, we've approved it and moved it on like we do say with an FDP, but.
I mean, one of the things about original town is I don't think it costs moving forward with original town is, I don't think it costs the town a lot of money to do that, right? Moving forward on the marketplace could easily cost somebody a lot of money. And I mean, in my own mind, I feel that if you're going to ask the board for, I mean, in order to make a decision on whether to move or what direction to move it, if I was on the board, I'd be asking for some information on that. At the moment, we're in no position to provide it.
Right, so I think it's a more,
Yeah.
the marketplace is more an iterative process, where
Mhm.
we're gonna spend some more time, like, you may get some more feedback from staff, or you may decide that this is what we wanna look into. We wanna explore, what it's gonna cost, so that you guys can have a better understanding, before you make a recommendation, as to, we could restrike, certain areas. I mean, we first of all have to get, jurisdiction over Marshall Road, but you don't have to, tear it out or narrow it. You could restripe it, or you could, put in, different obstacles in order to kind of narrow it and see whether or not it's called, there's a term for it, guerrilla, something. Guerrilla planning or guerrilla design or something, but it's really just like you go out and you do these testings, and they don't cost that
Tactical
much money.
urbanism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Tactical
So
urbanism.
that's what's happened where US 36 goes into Boulder, right, and they restrike it to get 3 lanes.
So-
Rather than adding an extra concrete.
So what if we change this to say, for focus area 1, add the summary of recommendations, focus area 1, Superior Marketplace, to the Planning Commission work plan, with approval to direct staff to continue discussions with Brixmor,
Necessary
RTD,
stakeholders or
CDOT, and all
whatever, yeah.
those things, and work with the planning commission to move forward with a recommendation to come at a later date, something to that effect.
And do we need to ask for money at this time for like to go forward for additional funds with Clarion, or is that a different?
We've been through the budget process, so it'd be great if you could find out.
I will,
Whether we have it. I think there's money there, but.
I think that'd be good for the board to understand,
Yeah.
you know, so not necessarily for us prior to that, but when you do the cover memo for the board, you know, here's what's budgeted and here's what potentially it costs to develop the, original town overlay district. So that they can see, money's already there, we should keep moving.
Right, and we do plan, and that I don't know how we get an estimate on what we expect to use for Clarion this year. I have no idea.
Can they tell us what the OT piece would look like? Do
I'm
they
sure they
have a
could.
good sense of that now? I think they
Yeah.
do.
They should.
We've already paid for a chunk of it, according to her, so.
No, that's a good point. I mean,
Right.
They could give you a good ballpark on
Yeah,
that, I think.
yeah. Could you get that before our
I'm
meeting
sure
with
we
the
could,
town board?
yeah.
Okay. And then we would probably want additional money to work with them to continue working on the marketplace direction, right? So, okay, do we need to list any of these out? We have Brixmor, RTD, CDOT, marketplace tenants.
And
Just
others
use
as
stakeholders, yeah.
considered necessary.
I think it's
And
just
other
direct
state-
staff.
and other-
Other stakeholders
Yeah,
seem
just-
to cover it.
My
ahead.
preference would be just to say direct staff to undertake all the town initiated actions.
Okay,
that are in the
which is on here.
plan,
Okay.
Right, so,
all
yeah, just so that we're not,
Sure. No,
like,
yeah,
being
not to be,
specific. I think, staff and, whoever's appropriate
in the plan, yeah.
to just, to begin these actions.
Okay, and if we need to tweak the plan so that everything we care about's in there,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah,
email Stephen about that. And then direct the planning commission, direct planning commission to work with staff to develop a recommendation for the marketplace. We're gonna put a timeline on that,
when you say develop a recommendation, are you thinking like,
or finalize, or provide, I was trying to figure out the right word, but,
I guess I'm
Right.
wondering how you envision that being different than what's here.
well, right now what's in there is this sort of vague plan 1, plan 2. Don't really know what we can do because until we have a better understanding of where Brixmor is, where RTD is, where CDOT is. We
Right.
can't really even suggest plan, we can't even suggest plan 1.
My feeling is those conversations are gonna take months, if not longer, to
Okay.
really kind of solidify a direction, and I'm comfortable approving what we've got.
Put it on our work
So
plan.
that this is policy, this is what we wanna do, it becomes work plan, and then as those conversations evolve over the next few years, just you know what I mean, just
Yeah.
realistically, I don't wanna pause. My preference is not to pause to have all
Sure.
those conversations, I think this plan sets those as next steps.
So just add the summary of recommendation, focus area 1, Superior Marketplace to the PC works plan and
Yeah.
direct staff to begin the town initiated actions of
Executing
the
the
plan. The town initiated actions in the plan.
That's my thought, I
I don't
mean,
know, what do you guys, is that enough? Is that?
I think that's enough
Yep.
for me. One of the other things, I want to echo what Commissioner Miller said about under implementation and phasing. I'd like to get rid of that potential path
Yeah,
forward
I think that's a
altogether.
good call.
And I think Darcy said that we could email her and,
Yeah.
add that, or change that. And then there's some other things like alternatives. Some of those words I think we need to get rid of and make it more of an action item. If she could do that, just, alternative options. It doesn't sound like it's finalized. And, like Stephen said earlier, this plan isn't completely baked, but I think it's ready for the oven. So.
We don't know what temperature.
Yeah, we don't know what temperature, but it's
For
ready
how
for the
long?
oven. Yeah, we need the rest
What
of
it's
the.
gonna taste like when
The
it's
rest of the directions.
yeah, I like that, taking out the word potential,
Where was that? Oh.
just these potential paths forward under
Okay.
implementation.
Yeah, it's under
Do you have enough,
implementation.
do you have enough information, Stephen, to?
I think so.
To take that?
Where does that language first appear, on what sheet?
Get it.
I think
35?
it first appears on sheet 32. And the implementation. and
Yeah,
phasing portion.
33 on, it's on 33.
It's
So
even
I
on,
have 33.
it's even on page 18 too.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
Alternative summary. I guess, well, that's probably. Yeah, it's not potential alternatives, it's alternative. That's okay.
It's enough to have multiple paths. We don't need potential as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Just
Makes
never
us
did a
seem
search
very
of the document
indecisive.
for potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, potential.
Got it.
Remove.
Where are the town initiated actions for summary one? I'm still. Is it at the bottom of?
42, no, sorry, partnership, that was 35.
Okay, path two. Okay, oh, so it would be path two, because we don't have path one, town initiated actions, because,
That assumes a partnership.
okay, path two.
There's still action items though for the town in path one.
Yes, as part one, it's town initiated action.
It does, there are,
Yeah, they
where's
go-
that
It
at?
almost seems like the clearest thing is to say that
Oh, the actions, yeah,
initiate town actions for path one.
so just
while
town and it just,
pursuing, a partnership, or for path two, I guess, while pursuing a partnership with Brixmor,
Perfect,
you know, something to that degree.
yeah.
Because we don't want to wait, right? That's the upshot.
Yep.
so say that again while doing what with Brixmor, while,
So initiate or begin town-initiated actions on path two
yep,
while pursuing partnership or exploring partnership with Brixmor and other stakeholders. I mean, it's not just Brixmor, but Brixmor's the big one.
Yeah.
That sort of suggests we lean towards part two.
No, I don't think it suggests we lean toward path two. I think that just gives us like, path two we can do right now. We're not dependent on anybody else to do path two.
and we can't do path one until we know.
Right, and the
There are
two aren't
people in
mutually
play.
exclusive, so that's where,
Oh, the options in the past.
The options
Yeah.
in the past.
Sorry.
right, yeah. We got paths, we got options, we got potential.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me just read this and, well, I think I can do it. I'll make a motion to make a recommendation to the board to add the summary of recommendations, focus area one, Superior Marketplace, to the PC work plan, and direct staff to take the town initiated actions for path two while exploring partnerships with Brixmor and other stakeholders.
Seconded.
Okay, I've got a second. Any discussion, tweaks to that? Does that sound okay?
I think that's great. I guess I want the board to know our role, I think, for this next initial conversations is probably a little limited. You know what I mean? I think set the expectation that with the board that, you know, we're gonna, you know, I don't think us as a body can do a lot of these things. That's just I just want to make sure we're setting that expectation, that a lot of these things are at a staff level.
Well, and that's why I just, yeah, and I just suggested adding it to our work plan. Is that-
I'm fine putting it on the work plan as update items from staff. I just don't want them to think that that we can get a lot of this done.
Well, that's what, well, so
Direct
does this
staff,
cover
right?
direct
Mhm.
staff too? Does that feel comfortable?
Yep.
That we don't have anything to do, staff's got all the work?
Perfect.
I mean, just realistically,
Realistically, it's probably a
Yeah,
public.
just really clear.
I
Probably a
just
public
wanted
works
the board, I mean, the
exercise.
board really
Yeah.
expected that the planning commission would develop this. And I just want them to know the ball is now not in our court with this stuff. I feel like the ball needs to be in staff's court, for a while too.
Well, and if it's on our work plan, it puts a slight responsibility on our part to make sure staff is moving
That's
forward
true.
with
That's
this,
a good
right?
point.
And I
Yeah.
think that is our level of responsibility to get regular reports and updates, and if we have other things that come out of that,
Perfect. It's going great.
if we want to give them more stuff to do, we can.
I mean, I think honestly, a lot of this will
No,
be
I-
Alex's conversations
get it, yeah.
probably, rather
I'm
than
happy to talk to
planning
Costco
stuff,
at an
but-
after hours or something if they're there, but that's about all I think I can do. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Cool. Right. And, well, you captured that. That's all captured, right? So, guess that's it for 4.5. We have our 2019 work plan. It's the last thing, and I think we have something to add to it now, so. Although it's probably on there already.
So this is where we ended up, from the December meeting. And I don't know that I'll let you guys read through it, but,
Can you zoom in maybe
Yes,
one
I
notch?
will.
Yeah.
Are the bullet points, is that
25.
first bullet point under number 1 new?
I believe so. I think we added both bullet
Okay,
points under number 1.
okay.
So we did tweak this a little bit on our, was it the 18th, December 18th meeting? And added a few things. So I think the main changes were those 2 bullets, and I think there was a little massaging to some of the, these are the last other things that were added, but otherwise it was more or less kept kind of intact. So if there's other changes that we want to make based off of this bullet item, the Northwest Sub-Area Plan, we can certainly make them. And if you want me to, print this out, or if this is legible, we can work off of this.
Before we go too far, we got an email from the OSAC member or chair. I don't know if he's chair. Did you all get that and read through that? I don't know if there's any items that jumped out on that. I think we're already addressing Northwest area. I did put it in my folder here. But I wanted to at least look at that when we talk about our work plan.
Yeah.
He was very interested in getting a sort of rec center kind of building.
Senior center.
Rec center, libraries.
Yeah, that feels town board level at this point and direction to planning commission if it were to come, but I don't think that
It's
doesn't,
been
that,
addressed 2 or 3 times.
it has, yes.
Yeah.
I was more the, anything in the marketplace, the Northwest area. He also threw in, let's see, when he was talking Northwest, he brought up Rogers Farm, which we can't do anything more with that. It's on our plan as number 2. We'll review any development projects that come forward.
Have they submitted permits for the new Boulder Creek product down there? Or are they just doing infrastructure?
I don't know that there's any home permits yet, but at least when I checked in last week, there weren't. I think it's just a civil, infrastructure project for grading right now, so.
So let's see, so yeah, there was town hall. I think that's also at the board level. Libraries at the board level, rec center, community senior center. And then I think the rest is, I don't think there's anything in that we want to put on our work plan related to that.
I wish we could. but I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
yeah.
we-
Let's see. Okay. All right, I just want to make sure I brought that up and touched on it, so. And the only other items that are on my mind, and these are related to original town, but I didn't feel like they fit in the Northwest Area Plan. Maybe they do, but I didn't think they did. Sure, I can remember both. One of them was this experience we had with the water main breaks and the flood. It became apparent as we looked around town that, I know people don't want sidewalks, but at least the way 4th Avenue is, and this is being looked at, and we may not need to do anything with this, but, making sure that the homes that are in town are protected, because the water just flows off the street and there's nowhere for it to go, right? As soon as you get south of Coal Creek, it's just, the roads are like this, and then in a lot of cases, these were all dirt roads and are up higher, and the homes are in town. And again, I don't know if this is something for us to look at. Shoot, there's one other one I can't remember, but that was one of the big ones, is just making sure that these, that neighborhood is well designed. Oh, the other was the burial of the power lines, which comes up, and there's, I don't know if that's appropriate for the planning commission to talk about or engage residents on, but there's,
I feel like there's a lot of cost constraints related to that. I don't know
Somewhat,
that we would be
yeah.
effective. I
Probably
don't know that
not.
it's a good use of our time,
yeah,
but.
yeah, it may
I
not be.
can certainly get Alex to update you. I know that
Yeah.
there's certain funds for that.
There are for the burial of the power lines, yeah, that came up again last year, I think. And that could also be one of those town board level things that they direct us, but.
One, it's,
The-
both of those things are items that you may want to, participate when the budget comes around in terms
Yeah.
of, if those are objectives you want to achieve, curb and gutter in original town in order, it doesn't just have a public safety sidewalk benefit, it also does storm drainage and, protects your
Yeah,
houses
yes,
from
yeah, it's just,
the
yeah.
flows that you experience. But those are, I think, more kind of budgetary
Yeah.
related, so that it's something that if, when, I guess it's June or July rolls around, when budget starts, Phyllis pays more attention to this.
Well, and maybe we do have a
Numbers
line
scare
item
me,
about,
yeah.
and maybe we can add to it as time goes on, but just consider planning items, come up that require budget discussions and.
Well, you can also request, we can bring Alex in and you can ask questions specifically on what the priority projects are and,
Yeah.
how that type of stuff gets addressed.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great if we could actually review and comment on the CIP budget itself,
Yeah.
right? So as that budget is kind of in early development stages, maybe, the list of projects or potential projects, we could be, just kind of have Alex do a presentation and then we can, pick our top 3 or our top 5, pass that recommendation on to the board, might be a way to
So,
get input on that.
review and comment on
Capital
CIP,
improvement.
capital
On capital
improvement
improvement
projects, and
budget.
then maybe could you keep a side list that doesn't necessarily sit on the work plan? That as they come up, that we like, the drainage issue in original town, or,
Okay, but for
just
this
so we
one?
know, we don't have to put those on the work plan and make them like that official, but just so we don't forget about them,
Yeah,
come
maybe-
budget time.
Review and
that's-
comment on capital improvement
Yeah.
budget.
You want me to
Yeah.
put it as a bullet underneath 3, or do you want it to be its own?
I think it should be a
number?
standalone,
Put what underneath there?
the review and comment on the budget itself.
Oh,
Or-
gotcha. You think that's a second, that's a
I think
bullet
it's a
point?
standalone.
Do you want it
Review
in a
and
certain
comment to
location?
recommend approval on major capital improvement projects.
Can we just say, and capital improvement budget?
Sure, either one, yeah. And I also want to note, I don't think the planning commission has ever gotten the chance to review major capital improvements.
No, it's come up before, though, that we
And
want to.
we would
Yeah.
like to, and I know oftentimes like agendas are busy, but my comment on the work plan is, I want us to look at 88th Street, that proposed design, and be able to provide comment on that,
Yep.
whether it's 3 lanes or 5 lanes, or what all the implications are from that. And if I really want to look at that plan, as well as any other, major improvements that come along each year.
Well, I think it needs to be phrased also as it is a preliminary opportunity for the public to get involved
Yeah.
at another level from a planning standpoint on
Yeah.
these items before they're sitting on a town board agenda item,
Yeah.
to be decided upon, right? So,
And my other thought on the work plan is if the Weldona decision isn't completely decided, I would love for the planning commission to assist in facilitating a discussion with the neighborhood to try and get buy-in and consensus around the final design. Because I feel like the town was really, I feel like the way that decision was handled could have been a lot better at a town board level. And they know how I feel. This isn't news. And if there's opportunity for continued discussion, I would like the planning commission to maybe lead or facilitate that.
I would second that.
I'm okay with that.
Do you want to,
That brings up a point I was going to ask the question, which was, I haven't watched the whole of the video from last night yet. My impression- Sorry?
your mic,
Oh,
sorry.
I haven't watched the whole of the video from last night yet, but my impression was that the town board spent almost as much time reviewing the Block 25 Remington submission as we did as a planning commission. Did you stay here the whole time?
I did, yeah.
I thought you might have done, and is that a fair comment?
I don't recall how long we took. We may have taken 2 hours on it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And I think it was, I think it started at a little after 7, and we went till 10:45. So it was a little longer, I would say. But that's just I didn't time either one, or, I don't have the
No, I mean, I was just trying to think is there something that we could do that would make it easier for the town board to spend less time on those things?
I wish there
So
were.
we can move up to planning, to
Question
work plan
answers.
item number 1, to continue to develop a review process for the
Well, that's
town
exactly-
board.
that's
So,
what I mean,
we've had
that's
that on
what
the
I'm saying.
agenda.
I'm sorry, I'm
Well
laughing,
done.
I've just been
No, I
watching
mean,
this happen for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure having things reviewed twice probably catches things that might not be caught if they're reviewed once. But I mean, last night's board meeting started at 5:30 and went for 5.25 hours. It must have been
Yeah.
quite tired.
Well, I mean, it's going to require a communication level that says, somebody's got to, and it's the mayor or pro tem is going to have to say, that was discussed at the planning commission, this is what they said, do we need to discuss it farther? And if they're not doing that, then, I mean, there's nothing really that we can do. And if there are items that we didn't discuss, then by all means, they can go.
But I think there is. I think for us, it's for us to go back and say, you're wasting our time now, right? I mean, I think that's what we need to tell the town board, to say, if we're of no value to you, if you're gonna spend the same amount of time doing this and reviewing the same things we did, hopefully to facilitate this, then we shouldn't do that. We should go to,
But there's a legal requirement in the state, right?
It's a legal requirement that we hold the public hearing,
That we
but I
hold
think
the
what
public
he's
hearing.
saying is like, we could just say, fine, pass, right? Like, do we
Right.
need to
Well,
spend
we-
2 hours
yeah.
talking about it?
Remington made pretty much exactly the same presentation to the town board that it made to us.
They do,
They
yeah.
had the same people, that they had the gentleman there doing the 3D flyby.
Yeah.
I mean, the trustees were as interested in it as we were. I'm sort of scratching.
Do
my
you
head.
Well-
see any options for us? What are
No, I
you-
mean, I
Sitting
would
in
just,
both, what are
I
your
would just
thoughts?
share the context that, you know, that there are, this was an application that everyone, I mean, it was a pretty complicated application for what it was in terms of, you know, the grading and, you know, the different units and, you know, there's enough similarity between them that it was kind of tough to distinguish them from one another. But I think that there are times, you know, especially like the most recent example, maybe the MOB signage, where your guys' contribution to that review was, you know, certainly carried through, and it changed the application that the board saw. So
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's just as much of a product that you guys supported this one, and, you know, it didn't feel like there were substantial changes to be made. So, but I think that there's probably a conversation about, you know, what you guys discuss and what planning commission or what the board, you know, takes from that. Like, you know, are they listening to the minutes? Are they watching the video? Or, you know, what is helpful? What could be more helpful? Are they, I mean, you know, is it that they want their own analysis of it? Do they want, I mean,
So I was told,
Individually.
and I won't tell you which board member told me this, that they were directed, they were not permitted to watch planning commission meetings by our town attorney. And that bothers me, and that's to me under number 1. I'd like to get some clarity in a public meeting from our attorney that says what's allowed to happen, because I've heard that twice in the last year. One in the last 3 months, that they were directed that they're not permitted to watch the planning commission meetings because it's, well, and it's a public hearing and they could be influenced by what we say. And like, well, yeah, that's the whole point.
Well,
This is
the whole world can
So
watch the videos.
I would like a very specific task to, you know, to know what the town board is permitted to see and that they're given the appropriate direction. Because I don't want to work on item number 1 if the lawyer's going to turn around and say,
Oh, quite.
you can't do that, right?
Well, and
So-
if they can't do it, then I think the recommendation is that there's more time between meetings so that, you know,
Yep.
our clerk has enough time, because the way the schedules are right now, it's just not possible, you know, to get.
Well, and how we present the information could
Minutes
be totally
developed
different. you
so
know.
that the board has them, because I
Yep.
think that's important, and that's not your, you know, that's just the way the meetings are scheduled.
Yeah.
So,
I've been getting the minutes done.
She has,
And,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, they've been
okay.
getting, she
Short
was asked to
form.
get that
Yeah.
done. Yeah, they've been
Right.
getting done.
but that's hard to
before.
do if you have back-to-back meetings.
It is.
So I think that's my
the plan
point, is a little
yeah.
more time in there would be nice, so that's possible.
But I think what you're asking falls under number 1, right?
Yes, no, that's
I mean,
what
it's,
that's
and
what
I
that's
think
where I
that's
was
a,
going with it.
yeah, so.
do you want that amended in any way, or do you just want that?
I know, it's just, you know,
Okay,
there are
it's just something
lots
to-
of little tasks that are
okay.
gonna come up, but, you know, trying to remember them is probably the key. They don't
Well,
necessarily.
this was, I mean, I think this was the underlying thought behind developing development review, development standards checklist, you know. What would the town board like us to look at so that, you
Yeah.
know, they know it's been done? I mean, those kind of things.
And we have to have it every time the board changes, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
get new people and, you know,
It'll be good to have that discussion with the new board. And I think expressing those concerns, because you certainly won't be the first planning commissioner who has shared
Yeah.
those feelings with the board.
Well, to me, it's my biggest disappointment of being on this,
Yeah.
is that we do a lot of work here, I think, and a lot of good work, but I just think it gets passed on and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like they take it.
well, and that was one of my things when I got on this too, is that was one of my passions was tell us how you want us to work. And
Yeah.
Let's,
We're willing to follow your direction, but give it to us and then abide by it.
and then follow it, yeah.
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 Yeah, yeah,
It is a bit pointless having two of us do the same things over and over again.
yeah, yeah.
We could do some other things. I don't know what.
So I think it would be great for us to focus on item one here and have that as part of our work sessions. And if you recall, one of the things I request is that whenever we don't have a meeting, that we have a work session, right? Because we have so many things in our work plan, right? That, you know, when things are quiet, we need to not skip our meetings and have work sessions so that we can address some of these kind of items. And
I mean, is item one something you could take up with Clint?
When do we have our board dinner scheduled? Do we know?
I don't know that it's scheduled, but it's
Okay.
usually by March.
I do have
March or so?
conversations with
Yeah.
board members.
Okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, I do have conversations with board members about some of these items. Yeah.
Isn't the meeting on the 11th with the,
Oh.
this plan supposed to be the dinner with the planning commission? I don't know that for a
It's-
fact.
I don't think it's the same, but, I mean.
Probably wouldn't be enough time to talk.
I wouldn't want to add our work plan discussion to our Northwest Area Plan discussion, and it's only listed right now as the Northwest Area Plan discussion. And Emily printed this off for me.
Yeah,
It does
we did,
start at
yeah.
5:30 and it is slated for an hour and a half on the 11th, so.
Okay. All right, so we're good with number one. Number two, obviously, that's an obvious task. Number three, are we fine with where that sits? Do we, and
I want to say include 88th Street, so that
You want
it's,
a sub-bullet?
it's very
so
clear.
yeah, we can put some sub-bullets under number three, so.
Yes, because
Yeah.
these aren't happening, so.
So we have, just to be clear, we have, item number 3, and then we also have transportation-related discussions down here, so I don't know where you want to add.
Well, you've got that.
I think
part.
under the capital improvement projects.
Okay.
I think, to me, one feels more like planning and one feels more like actual projects.
So 88th Street discussion?
Yeah.
Or Weldona and 88th Street discussion?
If Weldona's getting opened back up again.
Okay.
If it's not, we don't need to open it back up. I don't want to drive
We
that.
can
but-
phrase it that way in the work plan. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's fair. If Waldona Way resurfaces, we'd like to recommend that.
And I would say 88th Street review and comment,
Okay.
so that I think it's more specific that we want to look at those plans.
I guess you're ahead of me. What are they planning to do on 88th Street?
They included a pretty big budget item, line item, right? That did get approved for
Yeah, I mean.
major
so I
construction on
think
88th
that
Street.
What we're waiting on is whether or not we get a resubmittal for Zaharias and
Yeah.
whether or not those two things sync up. But I think the direction is that, at least last I talked to Public Works and Martin about it, was that 88th Street is in the budget that we worked on this year, and whether or not we have a partner in that, you know.
Mhm.
Right. And I'm not ready to close the door on downtown Superior connecting up and through, whether it's 88th or Coal Creek or something. I think it's just insane that you have to go around Rock Creek Parkway, McCaslin for Rock Creek to get to downtown. But so, you know, and so that's part of the 88th Street design and
Or-
And town center,
yeah,
yeah.
and
this
town
is
center
part of the
connection.
junction up between the new downtown and 88th Street, whether there should really be an access there. or-
That's on my radar to
Coal Creek
not
Drive
lose sight
versus
of.
88th, or, yeah.
Yeah, because it can come to 88 without necessarily connecting to Coal Creek, although I think it should connect to Coal Creek, I always have, but that got temporarily delayed here for this round.
Yeah, and that'll have to, I mean, a decision will need to be made on that with the toll submittal, whenever that comes forward.
But if they approve our work plan without
Yeah.
taking it off, then,
Well, there were a lot of people here last night.
That's right.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people here last night saying that they wanted Weldona to reopen.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there's a big controversy down there, so, yeah. No. All right, so,
Is that language all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, number 4, land use code cleanup, address inconsistency, and provide clarity. So I mean, we're gonna be reviewing the land use code as it relates to original town, I guess, and that's really all that land use code affects, right? We don't have anything else that's not under HOA. Well,
No, that's
I
not
guess.
true.
Do we want to address anything?
Everything else is under PB, isn't it?
Process and all that, though, is all set in the land use code,
Okay,
so
all right, okay, yeah, fair enough.
That one's kind of always
it's just
on
a
here.
carryover.
Yeah. But if you want to add some
I would add
specificity to it or add.
land use code
bullet is-
amendments related to original town.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna ask, if we wanted to mention specifically the overlay district and how that would work, if that's where we can carry it over from
Yeah.
the other.
And I'd be fine if that's all it said, unless you think of, unless you, and, you know, if,
Something like that?
yeah.
Okay.
And could we keep this vague? We can talk about it offline, but review ordinances that impact land use code. I know there's at least one out there that is kind of
Yeah.
weird, so.
Feels like we should be seeing amendments to Title 16.
Amendments or ordinances, just, I wouldn't mind reviewing ones that are out there.
Okay.
Don't we have to review amendments to Title 16?
I haven't been a part of that conversation.
If
so I
there's an
haven't looked at
ordinance,
it.
if there's an ordinance
Yeah.
that impacts,
But there have been
16.
some approved that we don't see.
yeah, there have been ordinances that passed by the town board that impact
Yeah.
16
That we don't
that
see, right?
we never saw. And I wouldn't mind reviewing those.
Yeah.
Or review ordinances. It would be
Review and comment.
review, yeah, any ordinances or amendments that impact chapter 16.
Mhm.
We don't have any approval.
No, it'd be a review and,
It would be a
Same as
review
like
and
an
review and
FTP.
recommendation, yeah.
Review and
yeah,
comment.
yeah.
Review and comment
Yeah.
on ordinances.
The land use, I mean, 16 falls, squarely on us, so.
Mhm.
And if we're not bringing things up that we think should be reviewed, then we're not doing our
I
job.
wonder what our process is.
It's a long chapter.
Yeah, that's why,
It's a long
when I think about the last time we went through it, then, I mean, if Clarion can come back and I'm just afraid we're gonna get these recommendations and, you start looking at all the ways this stuff interacts with each other, it just gets, it was nuts,
Mhm.
but, so, that'd be great if we could pull it off in 6 months. Okay, so is that, anything else for number 4 that's on anybody's mind? Okay. All right, regular work sessions, informational meetings on town plans, PC role, et cetera. That's fine. And then, okay, so maybe Northwest Superior Sub-Area Plan
Follow-up or something like that?
changes to
think we're
our
in-
recommendation that we made to put it on our work plan, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in the action items.
Yeah, are we in implement,
Yeah.
what were our, can you just put the 2 things we asked
Yeah.
approval of? If they don't approve them, they'll have to come off our work plan, but
Well,
if they-
right.
Yeah, but if they, they do, then.
Yeah, I
And
feel
that's
like we're
what
in
should be
action there.
Yeah.
Study.
Old Town as a bullet and then Northwest.
Yeah, I mean,
Marketplace.
implement the, what do we call this thing? We titling it, yeah, implement the Northwest Superior Planning Project Summary of Recommendations for Original Town.
Mhm.
One.
And then the other one is what we wrote up there to, work with staff on the town-initiated actions for
Yeah.
path 2 in the plan while
Yep.
exploring partnership with Brixmor and other stakeholders.
Mhm.
And that becomes a standalone item, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
initiate.
It feels good to have.
Yeah,
that.
work with staff, to initiate actions for path 2 while exploring partnerships with Brixmor and other stakeholders. Is basically what the recommendations
Okay.
we made to.
I think it was working with staff to explore.
Do you want to get that specific, or would you just say work with staff to initiate actions? for superior
We've already
work?
approved that, and it's an approved item. I think we execute the approved item, and actually, the original town was, begin the development of the overlay district. It was that specific,
Okay,
actually.
well, that,
so.
we're not that specific on that recommendation.
How do you
Item
want it to
2, yeah, item 2 is, yeah, the way we,
No, Robinette 1, it just says implement summary of recommendations.
no, yeah, we can come back to that, but let's finish this one. So work
Okay.
with staff to initiate actions for path 2 while working, work
Oh,
with staff to
sorry.
initiate actions for path 2 while exploring partnerships with
Okay.
Brixmor and other stakeholders.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, how do you want number 1?
And then that should be,
You have stakeholders.
Stakeholder.
Oh, stake, sorry. All right, what do we got for this one?
begin the development of the overlay district for original town. I think that's what our,
How do you want it to read though? So what part do you want me to change?
I would say take that, well, you
Allow?
could put implement summary of recommendations for original town by
Why?
beginning the development of the overlay district, maybe, is that fine? Let me rephrase that, by developing
Yeah.
the overlay district. I
There
don't wanna
you go.
begin it, I
Do
wanna
it.
develop it.
Do
By develop,
Okay,
and take out beginning, just change it to by,
by
take
development,
out
sorry.
beginning and just put by developing the overlay district, that's fine.
We don't need all the study items.
No, then all the study items is there anything on there we care about? I think those were all Northwest area, so no, yeah, those can all go away. And then this becomes a standalone numbered item. Number 6, all right.
here?
No, the Northwest sub-area plan
Oh,
action
okay.
items, that becomes number 6, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And those those 2 items can be underneath that, that works.
And then do we need this here or no?
I think that's all part of Northwest area, isn't it?
I thought
Now, we
I
got
guess
Town
that's-
Center, Louisville, yeah, because there's the bridge and,
Yeah, that's connected on 88.
yeah, so is that more of a, yeah?
You should make that 7, wouldn't you?
I mean, realistically,
Make the last
I
one.
mean, I think our opportunity to provide real impact on that is through any capital improvement projects. You know, if anything's gonna happen this year, I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably a difference between reacting to and spending time talking about and recommending. And I don't know that we have time to do
I just don't know
this.
that it's realistic
Yeah. No,
to
I'm
put
not
it on
with
there.
you.
I mean, we didn't really, get to much of it this year.
Is there more of a, there really ought to be a general planning item on there. I mean, that just in general, the planning commission will review areas or will just pay attention to areas in town that require attention.
Who is generally responsible for the comprehensive plan or updating it?
We are.
Technically, we are. Where are we in that cycle?
We're at 5 years. We're at 6 now.
6. I mean, the last one was done, the last real update was
2012.
2012.
So we're-
Yeah, so we're at 6 years. We're in year 6. But the discussion we had last year was that there wasn't a whole lot left of planning area except for
Northwest.
Marketplace and Northwest Superior. So do we do this plan instead of a comprehensive plan? But Sean brought up, the parcel at Colton
I don't feel like the rest of the town's done. I mean, I don't know if it's, maybe this year's work plan is, we have a work session on beginning to think through topic areas for, a potential 2020 comprehensive plan, right? And maybe just some initial conversations around comprehensive area comprehensive plan needs.
Well, maybe we turn it, this is the only comprehensive plan I've seen that is so targeted on opportunity areas.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
generally written differently. So I think if you think about it in the box of what do we need to revise based on our opportunity areas, which are, kind of being picked off here and there, like there may not be much to do, but if you think about it in terms of rethinking it, then like what are the goals for the town? What are the priorities? What are our objectives for transportation and X, Y, and Z? Then it's a different endeavor altogether. So
Do we want to just make it a little, rather than accomplishing a comprehensive plan update this year? We don't want to do that,
No, I'm thinking-
but have a discussion, maybe just investigate and discuss the comprehensive plan update for the near future or something. I don't know.
Timing of comprehensive or.
Yeah, I'd like to get it on our radar without committing to doing it
When is it actually called to be updated?
every 5 years.
So a year ago.
Yeah, last year. But I mean, it's a recommendation. And it depends on what's going on in the given town,
Well, what about just review comprehensive plan process and timing?
Or what about review existing comprehensive plan and make recommendations for update?
sure.
Yeah.
How's
So
that?
drop, do we want 7 or do we not want 7? And then the rest of the stuff on transportation plan is
I don't know
that-
write that before I forget it, and then we'll
Okay.
take that out.
So I'm gonna put it in. where
I like
7 is.
7 because it does give us the opportunity to look at some of the, what we've called the low-hanging fruit. What happened to it?
Yeah, review comprehensive plan and make recommendations for update. We can shuffle these around however we want at some point.
I don't know, I'd capitalize on everything for.
Or maybe provide recommendations for update or something,
Yeah.
rather than make. Yeah. Potential alternatives.
Potential
to
paths?
updating the comprehensive.
Potential alternative options.
That's
Let's get all
right.
3 of them.
I like potential options and potential alternatives.
I'm gonna ignore some of that stuff.
Yeah, good idea, yeah, good idea.
It's getting late.
Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, Anthony, sorry, go
So-
back to what you were saying.
So I do like keeping number 8 there because it gives us the opportunity to look at
You bet.
bike paths, low-hanging
Sure.
fruit, things like that we can make recommendations to pretty easily based on, our work sessions or what other projects come along.
You wanna just leave it general though and get rid of,
Yeah, I think we get rid of all, do you want to get rid of all
Yeah,
this
we
stuff?
can get rid of
Yeah, I
that.
think we can get rid of all that stuff.
and then these were the other
So,
ads from the December meeting.
yeah,
in
that,
terms of-
I think I brought some of those up because there's just a lot of discussion going on in Boulder County. I'd like to continue to attend them. There's just some neat things that doesn't mean we have to come up with an affordable housing plan, but we have the opportunity to participate.
We have a huge opportunity, we probably have a couple more years to participate in this to where we actually can do something.
Well, no, we can do something today with our existing housing, right? They're little, they're not major things, but right there, but yes, you're right.
But like, I think about the Southwest, and I never thought about it until last meeting, is that development, we could actually impact that. We
In
could
Northwest
actually-
Superior, you mean?
Yeah,
Or,
the Southwest area, over by the RTD of that planning, we could actually do something.
yeah,
That's
oh,
a
yeah,
place we could make an impact on affordable
Yeah.
housing.
yeah.
Again, we absolutely need the town's support, but that's something, so I'm fairly passionate about that one too.
Yeah.
so.
And I was just out at the Boulder County Housing Authority out in Lafayette today where I was blown away. That place is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful development, so.
Yeah, we could actually begin to develop if we really wanted to dig into it, and I don't know that we have time, but we really could start to evaluate recommendations for, you know, options for policies, you know, where we could drive some of this or require some affordable housing in these developments, you know, look at some different policy options related to, you know, a set aside of a percentage or a fee that they have to pay, or just, you know.
And I mean, and maybe all we really focus on is paying attention to what's already going on in the county, right? You know, I mean, this is all happening. I mean, there are meetings, regular meetings, there are organizations that are doing this already that we may
Sure.
just be able to participate in.
Even having
or
an
take
update
advantage
from
of,
other
or get
county.
updates from, and invite them to come into our town and see if we can, you know, help them with some of these,
Well,
without actually having to go do anything, right?
Well, and it feels like we've missed a little bit of the boat, of when people have been, we've had people in front of us, builders in front of us, everyone coming in,
Yep.
and we've never asked that question. And
I
I
have.
never.
Yeah.
You
I have,
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, because
Okay.
I feel strongly, but
Okay,
you're
I-
right, not everybody has, and it
Yeah,
never
I-
goes
We
beyond.
don't have anything to tell them to do, right?
Right, there's no
If you,
written
if I
rules.
come to you and
It would be good to
say,
get them on record as, what are you doing? You know, what do you do in other
Nothing.
communities?
well, well, yeah.
They do what they
yeah.
have to do.
But,
Right.
but
Yeah.
then get it on record. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I would like to get some people like that who talk
Yeah.
about being really community centric and what are you doing, you know? I won't
But
get
if
off
we
my
can,
high
but if we
horse.
can get it
No, I
on
agree.
policy and say,
Yep,
our expectation is when you come in, you're gonna follow our policy number, blah, da, 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 and you're gonna do this, and we're not gonna approve this unless you do, then they're required and they have to do it,
Well,
right?
that's the
They're
city.
not gonna just
The
do
city
it.
of Boulder has a lot of rules about how much affordable housing there has to be in the
Yep.
development.
Yeah.
How much the developer can pay you
Yep.
to buy themselves out of it.
Well, and former trustee Giselle, I mean, she had some great ideas about just spotting, you know, just spot affordable housing. You have to go put an affordable housing complex in. You can say developer comes in, he's gonna build the 300 units. 8% of those are expected to be affordable
Yep.
and retain and be in the plan. But that affordable housing plan has to be maintained by somebody,
Yep.
right? And if it's
But
already
Boulder
happening in
County
the
will do
county,
it.
they can do it
They
for
can
us.
do it for us.
Right, but we have to put policy in place to require that to happen, right? Or the ability for somebody in town to donate their home to affordable housing, right? So somebody's, you know, they have no kids, they have nothing to do, they want to do something good before they die. This house is going into the Boulder County Affordable Housing Plan, right? They can, project, they can, you know, they can do that today. We just have to invite them and to do it, so.
I would love to see it on the work plan. I don't know how much we can do as a planning commission, you know, just on this year. But I think even just calling it out on the work plan for the board to see that this is, and I know Anthony, you've talked about this too, with senior
Yep.
housing, so,
Yep.
you know. I
And that
think-
could fall in this too, yeah, to create a diversity in housing, including attainable housing options. And how about, I mean, just, I mean, I would like to have something a little more specific that, you know, and I'll take responsibility to do one, and you will as well, but to participate or to engage or to, you know, start getting involved with the county organizations that are already doing this, right? Just to learn more about what's going on so that we can have discussions about it, you know, at this level.
One of you guys, well, a couple of things, I guess, is, you know, both of your, I guess mostly number 10, but if you're gonna do number 10, that's also where you'd start, I think, is when you review the
comprehensive
update,
plan.
the up to
That's a
comprehensive
good
plan is
point.
try to get that to be make
Yeah.
that a policy, so.
Let's do that maybe, and
Yeah, I
then
like
let's do
that.
bullets under the comprehensive plan one.
Okay.
Maybe do it that way.
That would just be the first place to start, and then.
Yeah, it's a great
And we
idea.
could do
You know, in terms of-
transportation
Yep.
as a bullet under the comprehensive plan.
although does that then limit us to be able to actively work on that without going in and reviewing the comprehensive plan during this?
You can keep it
year's
separate
work
too.
session.
My only point was that if you get to this point, this is, I mean, when you look at redoing the comprehensive plan, just policy in general
Yeah, it's-
is probably where you want to start. And then in terms of your comments on, you know, being more engaged, I guess, with regional planning and whatnot, the board gives updates at the beginning of their meeting about what meetings they've attended and stuff like that. And if you guys have done any of that stuff, we can work that into our meetings as well, so. We lost a few of them. So we'll leave it where it's at, not underneath the comprehensive plan, so that it stands alone as an option for you guys to look into.
He's
You get an even 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good with
Figure out
this?
We'll get it all on 2 pieces of paper, so you don't.
I'll just change the font. That's easy.
We can figure out how we can do it all this year. That's a better.
Well, one a month, and we got them all done.
There you go.
And get Christmas break.
Exactly.
Any other thoughts on our work plan? Anyone want to make a motion to, what are we doing? Is this a motion to,
I think the idea would be to make a motion to send this to the board, and then we'll have a dinner on it and discuss it
so
at
we're
some
making
point,
a
but-
recommendation
Yeah,
to
make
the
a
town board
recommendation, and then
for
it'll get
approval
set
of
up
our
for-
work plan, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody want to take that?
So moved.
I can do that. You want?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Carry on. Yeah.
Oh, so I'd like to make a motion to approve and recommend to the board the 2019 Planning Commission work plan.
That's for us to approve and recommend the board approve. Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Harper. All in favor? Opposed? No? It's unanimous.
One other question for the planning commission. I know I've asked this a couple other times. Is there any interest in moving the starting time of our meeting up a little bit? Is everybody constrained with the 7 o'clock time, or is there any interest in bumping it to 6:30? So maybe our late nights aren't so late? Is that an option?
I'm good with 6:30 either.
Yeah, 6:30. We'll get you home earlier too.
I'll be fine with that until August.
We can leave it alone.
No,
If
no, no.
it's,
Oh, I mean, if you have
I just get tired.
I just keep coming.
I'm with
No,
you.
yeah.
I'm with you.
And I
just
don't
keep
mind
coming
moving
at
it.
7 o'clock because the meeting
I
keeps
know.
saying come at 7.
I don't mind moving it to 6:30 either, but that doesn't mean we should go an extra half an hour.
I agree.
Yeah, agree.
Exactly.
So we get out of here at 9, not 9.
Who's ever
Can we
run
try
the
for
meeting?
6?
Or even 6. I mean,
I'm
I'm
fine with 6
fine with
too.
6 too.
6 is fine with me.
Why don't we do 6 until the fall, until it gets to a problem, and then we can.
Yeah. So
Is
when
that
does it
okay
impact
for
you?
staff? I feel like it should be somewhat
Fall?
consistent.
I think it
Yes,
needs to
well,
be
we're
something, if you're
thinking
gonna
of
change
ourselves.
it.
Yeah.
I think you change it and leave it. I don't know, that's an attorney question, I don't know,
Is it,
or a Matt's question.
was the 7 o'clock time to benefit people coming to provide public?
7 o'clock. Oh, that's a thought too. It's been around for a long
Opportunities
time.
for
I don't think
public
we
to
all
come.
know.
I mean,
What happens to you in the fall? You just,
Structure softball,
oh, okay.
Oh,
high
okay.
school softball.
Then we'll leave it alone. I
Yeah.
don't think we should change it for 6 months and then change it.
It's like-
You know what we could do? Why don't we change our work sessions to 6 o'clock? And then when it's work sessions only, can we do that? And then leave our meetings at 7?
Regular meetings.
That's a
And
good
that'll at
Maybe
least
some
relieve
flexibility
some of it.
in
Yeah.
work sessions,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
And those could be flexible if we wanted to, right? I mean, even the town board has work
And
sessions
if you
at
can't
5:30 or
be
6
there,
or,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Seems like
and then
a-
that gets you home earlier too, and
Sometimes.
sometimes.
After a late meeting
Or
last
make you
night,
stay
yeah.
later. Hey, yeah.
yeah.
Do you, kind of in that same vein, does anyone, I mean, so Commissioner Woody's only getting electronic submittals for his plans currently. I don't know if
Electronic
anyone
only.
else doesn't want paper copies. If you guys want paper copies, I'll still provide them, but
No paper.
My
Yeah, I
kid-
don't need paper
My kids will
copies.
be really disappointed if they don't have coloring paper in the future, but I think I could go electronic too.
okay.
And I'm re-insulating my house with the math version. I need a few more. No, I do, I like the paper ones,
Okay,
You did.
yeah, because
It's
I
like-
I
understand.
color them.
yeah. So
I agree, I
Commissioner
like the
Ritchie
paper one.
and Miller?
Electronic.
Add to the electronic, okay.
I'm already at just electronic, right?
You are?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, roll.
Electronic's good for me.
Okay.
I do get the big rolls of,
That's what I mean.
Oh, I
So,
don't-
do you want the big rolls or no?
I mean, they're all there in the electronic copy. No, I'm good with the electronic.
Okay.
I don't need the,
Oh, I need to think, I like looking
It's
at
fine.
the
You don't
paper
have to
ones. I've
decide
never
now.
really considered trying, I mean, I do look at electronic ones as well, but
yeah, I mean, I flip through the paper ones, but
A tree dies every time one of those plan sets is produced.
well, that's the concern. I mean,
yeah.
there's-
yeah. I have a big screen. I can look at them on screen, zoom in. else?
Just that we have a meeting next week, and I don't see anything on the schedule that would, well, actually, I think that we might be moving, I'll let you know, hopefully as early as tomorrow, whether or not we have a meeting on, February 5th. We have a boundary line adjustment plat with a vacation, and it's pretty straightforward. It won't take us very long, but we may
When
need
is
to
that?
meet- We may need to meet on, February 5th. for that
Okay.
meeting. We do meet next week.
Yeah, we meet
Next
20,
week
so
is
that's a Thrive proposal,
Yeah,
right?
so block 26, and that,
Special meeting.
it's a special meeting, not a, yeah, because it doesn't fall on the third Tuesday of the month, so. But looks like we're now gonna have a meeting on the 5th as well, so, but I'll follow up on that as soon as I know.
All right. Anything else?
That's it?
All right. We're adjourned.
I saw that, Land Rover